Beneath the thick forests and rocky hills of the Ozark Mountains, something mysterious hides in the shadows. Vast caverns stretch for miles underground, some natural, others strangely shaped by unseen hands. Settlers spoke of stone walls, hidden chambers, and even fortresses carved into the earth. Who built them? Why? And why do modern scientists struggle to explain their existence? Were these underground strongholds places of defense, survival, or something far stranger? Tonight, we journey deep into the Ozark Mountains, into caves where history refuses to give up its secrets. What we uncover could change how we understand America's ancient past. But before we step into the darkness, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We explore the world's deepest mysteries, and trust me, you won't want to miss what we're about to reveal. The Ozarks, a landscape of secrets. The Ozarks stretch across Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, covering nearly 47,000 square miles. It is a land shaped by limestone and water, riddled with caves and sinkholes. While scientists catalog over 7,000 caves, many remain sealed, flooded, or too dangerous to explore. Legends say some of these caverns are not purely natural, but reworked by human hands long ago. Walls of carefully stacked stones appear in otherwise untouched chambers. In some caves, large flat boulders resemble defensive barricades, while narrow passageways suggest deliberate design. Local stories claim these caves once served as fortresses for a forgotten people. Could they be remnants of a culture lost to time, predating even the native tribes known to history? The Ozarks, already mysterious for its wild beauty, holds deeper secrets beneath its soil, secrets that refuse to fade despite centuries of silence. Whispers from early settlers. When settlers pushed into the Ozark wilderness in the early 1800s, they reported strange discoveries. Some pioneers wrote of caves lined with walls, as if someone had built fortifications inside. Others described narrow stone staircases leading downward into darkness. A few even claimed they stumbled on chambers large enough to house entire groups of people, strongholds hidden beneath the earth. Most disturbing were tales of skeletal remains found near cave mouths, some said to be larger than ordinary humans. While skeptics dismissed these stories as frontier folklore, the consistency of the accounts raises questions. Why would so many independent settlers describe similar features, walls, staircases, chambers, if nothing unusual was there? Could the earliest explorers of the Ozarks have unknowingly uncovered remnants of ancient fortresses, only for their accounts to be buried as tall tales of the wilderness? Native legends of cave dwellers. Long before settlers arrived, Native American tribes told stories of strange people who once lived deep within the earth. Among the Osage, Quapaw, and Cherokee, legends speak of cave people who fought wars in the distant past. Some stories describe a race of beings who retreated underground after great conflicts, sealing themselves inside fortified caverns. In Cherokee oral tradition, battles with mysterious, moon-eyed people are said to have driven entire groups into caves for survival. Were these legends symbolic tales, or dim memories of real events? The fact that multiple tribes across the Ozarks preserved similar accounts suggests there may be truth hidden within the mythology. If caves were indeed used as fortresses, the builders may have been remembered in folklore as an ancient enemy, long vanished yet impossible to forget. The stone walls mystery. One of the most puzzling features reported inside Ozark caves is the appearance of stone walls. Unlike the natural formations of limestone stalactites and stalagmites, these walls appear stacked, cut, or fitted. Explorers describe them as defensive barriers or dividing partitions, some stretching across entire chambers. Geologists argue they could be the result of rockfalls or natural collapses, but others note their organized appearance, like masonry work. Could ancient peoples have used available rock to transform natural caverns into fortified shelters? If so, why? Defense against invaders? Protection from animals? Or survival during a forgotten cataclysm? The lack of clear archaeological excavations leaves the mystery unresolved. What remains is a haunting puzzle. In a region where thousands of caves exist, some bear the marks of intentional design, as though the earth itself was shaped into a fortress. Skeletons at the cave mouths. Accounts from the 19th and early 20th centuries describe unusual skeletal discoveries in and around Ozark caves. Farmers and amateur diggers reported finding bones near entrances, some claiming they were much larger than normal human remains. While many of these finds were lost, misidentified, or destroyed, they fuel speculation about who might have built these fortresses. Were they the ancestors of native tribes, or an unknown race forgotten by time? Some fringe researchers suggest these skeletons could have belonged to the so-called giants often whispered about in North American folklore. Mainstream archaeologists reject such claims, attributing the bones to mismeasurements or exaggeration. Yet, the repeated association between caves, fortresses, and strange skeletal remains cannot be easily dismissed. Could the builders of the Ozark cave fortresses have been a distinct people, one science still struggles to identify? Strange carvings in stone. Within some Ozark caves, faint petroglyphs and carvings mark the walls. Though weathered by time, they depict geometric shapes, animals, and mysterious symbols. Unlike typical Native American rock art, some designs appear unfamiliar, suggesting either a different cultural origin or an earlier time period. Amateur explorers have claimed to see depictions resembling warriors, shields, or even star maps. Without proper archaeological documentation, these reports remain speculative, but they raise critical questions. Who carved these markings deep inside fortress-like caves? Were they the builders leaving behind symbols of their people? Or later inhabitants marking already ancient sites? Carvings inside fortified caverns hint at deliberate human activity, not random natural markings. And if they were placed with purpose, they may hold the key to identifying the culture that once called the caves of the Ozarks home. Hidden passages and chambers. The Ozarks are famous for their karst geology, limestone riddled with sinkholes, tunnels, and underground rivers. But in some cave systems, explorers claim to have found narrow passages that appear deliberately carved or expanded, connecting larger chambers. These tight corridors could have served as defensive choke points, making it nearly impossible for enemies to storm the fortress. Others report underground chambers arranged like living quarters, as though communities once took shelter there for extended periods. Modern cave explorers continue to find new networks, some stretching for miles beneath the surface. Could many of these hidden routes remain sealed behind rockfalls, their secrets locked away? The thought of undiscovered fortress chambers still buried beneath the Ozarks fuels both legend and scientific curiosity. Theories of war and defense. Why would anyone build fortresses inside caves? One theory suggests ancient peoples needed defense from enemies. The Ozarks, rich in resources, may have been a contested land. Underground strongholds would have offered protection and the advantage of terrain. Another theory points to climate or catastrophe. If great droughts, floods, or even cosmic events threatened survival, caves could serve as fortified shelters. Some even suggest the fortresses were built to withstand invasions from an unknown enemy, possibly linked to the Moon-Eyed People of Cherokee legend. While archaeologists rarely find weapons inside these caves, the strategic design of narrow entrances, stone barriers, and hidden chambers suggests more than mere shelter. They were strongholds in every sense, fortresses science still cannot fully explain. Echoes of lost civilizations. The mystery of the Ozark fortresses ties into a larger enigma, lost civilizations of North America. From the mound builders of Cahokia to the ancestral Puebloans of the Southwest, countless cultures rose and fell across the continent, many leaving behind unsolved questions. Could the cave fortresses of the Ozarks be remnants of one such culture, now forgotten by history? Some researchers speculate they belong to an unknown branch of mound-building societies, using caves as strongholds instead of earthen structures. Others wonder if they predate known native tribes entirely, evidence of a civilization erased long before European contact. Without definitive artifacts or records, the fortresses remain nameless, silent echoes of a culture that may have vanished but never truly left. Scientific roadblocks. Modern archaeology often avoids the cave fortress mystery, citing lack of verifiable evidence. Many reported walls and chambers cannot be re-examined, either collapsed, destroyed, or altered by amateur digging. Skeptics argue that natural cave formations are easily misinterpreted as human-made structures. Yet, this explanation fails to account for consistent historical accounts of walls, carvings, and fortifications. Funding for serious investigation is scarce, as mainstream science prefers to focus on better documented sites. As a result, the Ozark fortresses remain in a strange limbo, too legendary for science to embrace, but too consistent to dismiss entirely. This scientific roadblock only deepens the mystery, leaving the caves as silent puzzles waiting for someone brave enough to prove what lies inside. Forgotten excavations. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, small groups of amateur archaeologists and treasure hunters ventured into Ozark caves, hoping to uncover artifacts. Some reported finding pottery shards, tools, or bones. Others swore they saw stacked walls or hidden chambers before rockfalls sealed them forever. Unfortunately, poor documentation and sensational storytelling blurred the line between fact and fiction. Many artifacts were lost to private collections or destroyed. Today, archaeologists must rely on scattered reports, yellowed newspapers, and folklore to reconstruct what may have been. The possibility remains that crucial discoveries, artifacts or even entire fortress sections, were unearthed and lost, erasing the very evidence needed to explain these ancient structures. The caves themselves may still hold the answers, but many entrances are now sealed, locked, or considered too dangerous to reopen. The copper connection. Some researchers link the Ozark fortresses to America's ancient copper culture. Long before Europeans arrived, vast amounts of copper were mined in the Great Lakes region. But who extracted it all, and where did it go? Some suggest the same mysterious culture responsible for massive copper mining may have built fortresses across the continent, including the Ozarks. If so, the cave strongholds may have been used to store resources, weapons, or sacred items. No definitive copper artifacts have been linked to the Ozark caves, but the theory highlights the possibility of a broader network of ancient activity across North America. If true, the Ozark fortresses may be just one piece of a much larger puzzle science still refuses to solve. Cataclysm shelter theory. Another theory suggests the fortresses were not for war, but survival. Some researchers propose that ancient people built fortified caves as refuges during cataclysmic events, massive floods, volcanic activity, or even cosmic impacts. Geological evidence shows that the Ozarks have endured extreme environmental changes over millennia. Could survivors of ancient disasters have retreated underground, modifying caves into protective fortresses? Legends of great floods and fiery skies exist among many native cultures, hinting at ancient memories of catastrophe. If the Ozark fortresses were survival bunkers, they may represent humanity's attempts to withstand global events that science still struggles to trace in America's prehistoric past. Paranormal encounters. The caves of the Ozarks are also steeped in paranormal tales. Locals speak of strange lights flickering deep underground, unexplained shadows moving in the dark, and eerie sounds echoing from unseen chambers. Some cave explorers claim to have felt watched, even chased out of caverns by an unseen presence. Could these be remnants of energy left behind by ancient builders, or tricks of geology and fear? A few daring investigators even suggest that the fortresses were not just physical strongholds, but spiritual gateways. If ancient peoples held rituals within the caves, they may have left behind impressions that still haunt the chambers today. Whether superstition or something deeper, the paranormal adds yet another layer of mystery to the Ozark cave fortresses. Modern explorations. Despite obstacles, modern cave explorers continue to push deeper into the Ozarks. Equipped with advanced gear, they have discovered miles of new passages, underground rivers, and massive chambers. Some report finding unusual stacked stones and geometric formations suggestive of human design, but without official archaeological backing, these accounts remain unofficial. Still, the potential for new discoveries is immense. Entire fortress complexes may remain sealed behind collapses, waiting to be revealed. With new technology, ground-penetrating radar, 3D mapping, and remote robotics, the next generation may yet uncover evidence that proves the caves were fortified by ancient peoples. Until then, explorers walk a fine line between legend and reality, searching for what history and science have so far failed to explain. Sealed caves and forbidden zones. Across the Ozarks, locals whisper of caves that were once open but are now sealed off, sometimes with steel gates, sometimes mysteriously collapsed after reports of strange finds. Officials usually explain this as a safety measure to protect wildlife or prevent accidents. But conspiracy-minded researchers ask, what if something more is being hidden? There are rumors of sealed entrances with carved stonework visible just beyond the bars, or blocked tunnels where stone walls could once be seen. Some even claim federal agencies quietly surveyed certain sites and then restricted public access. Are these closures simply about preservation, or are ancient fortresses being concealed from modern eyes? The secrecy surrounding sealed caves only fuels suspicion. If there is nothing extraordinary inside, why keep explorers out? Perhaps the answers to the Ozark Cave Fortress mystery are already known, but carefully locked away. Voices of the locals. In small Ozark towns, stories of the caves pass quietly from one generation to the next. Hunters, farmers, and spelunkers all claim encounters that science ignores. One farmer swore he stumbled on a stone doorway deep inside a cavern, before a sudden collapse sealed it forever. Another local described hearing rhythmic drumming echoing underground while camping near a cave mouth. Old-timers say some caves are bad luck and warn people not to enter. To them, these aren't just stories, they are warnings. While scientists dismiss such tales as folklore, locals insist the fortresses are real. Built by an ancient people who vanished long ago. Oral traditions, just like the native legends, may hold pieces of truth that archaeology has overlooked. The caves are part of daily life in the Ozarks, and for those who live closest, the fortress mystery is far from forgotten, the unsolved enigma. The cave fortresses of the Ozarks remain one of America's most enduring unsolved mysteries. Were they natural formations misinterpreted by eager eyes? Or are they the remnants of a lost culture that fortified the earth itself for reasons unknown? The evidence, stone walls, carvings, skeletons, and legends, paints a picture too consistent to dismiss, yet too fragmented to prove. The Ozarks' whisper of a time continues to shrug, caught between skepticism and unanswered questions. Until when people hid in the shadows, building strongholds beneath the land. Science definitive excavations are conducted, the truth will remain sealed behind stone and time. And so, the mystery endures, deep, dark, and silent, like the caves themselves. As we leave the shadowy depths of the Ozark Mountains, one truth remains. The ancient cave fortresses refuse to give up their secrets. Were they built for war, survival, or something even more mysterious? The silence of the caves echoes louder than any answer. Perhaps one day, science will finally step into the darkness and bring light to this enigma. But until then, we are left only with questions, legends, and wonder. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Your support helps us keep uncovering the world's most mysterious stories. And remember, sometimes the past isn't buried in the ground, it's waiting in the caves, hidden in plain sight, daring us to ask what science can't explain.